Hello and thank you for joining me for another iTWire video. Today I have with me on our left Paul Stewart. He's the manager motion imaging at Canon Australia, and on the right we have Brett Danton. He's the director and creative of the movie that was created with this new camera called Mykonos, Dreaming of Greece. So welcome both to the program. Probably best to start off with by starting with you, Paul, just to give us a little bit of a heads up on what this new camera is all about and your role at Canon, and then we'll switch over to Brett afterwards.
So my role at Canon is I basically look after anything motion imaging in the professional space for Canon Australia. Whether it's broadcast or cinematographer products like this camera here, display and Pro DV products. Today is all about really launching the new C300 Mark II.
Yep.
So this is a second generation EOS professional model.
Just zooming into it there, it looks like a beauty.
Nice. And this really takes us to that next level of image quality. And it's obviously takes us in the land of 4K and higher frame rates. And all the things that, we built such a great reputation with the original C300. It was very successful, not only here in Australia, but worldwide. It's obviously a very important camera for us to set the platform for where this camera belongs, and I guess the type of customer are going to use this new camera.
Sure, and one of those customers would be Brett, who's put together this new movie, which is presumably showing off all the amazing features of the C300. And what was it like to use the brand new technology?
What we tried to do with it was shoot it in a real world situation. I mean, I think it's really easy with these kind of things. You stick it in the studio and talk about all the specs and all the stuff that it does, but it's actually a hands-on experience. It's the most important thing to do with it. So, I mean, we went to Mykonos in Greece. Unfortunately, it's where we had to shoot it. We had to chase the sun. We had a really small window between shooting and actually being able to screen something, which we needed for a show, which was being run in Australia. So we had 2 days to shoot it in. Camera arrived the morning of the shoot. No instruction books. It was a pre-production model that we got. By the afternoon, we were up and shooting. I mean, as Paul touched on, the main things, 4K internal is quite amazing. Biggest thing to me, and I'm always a hater of it up until now, was autofocus. I think it's probably the first motion camera I've ever used, and the autofocus is amazing.
Any other features that really stood out as being just different from the previous, the older one?
Look, to be honest with you, the old one I hadn't really used a massive amount. I used to use its big brother. I'm a 4K lover. I've always thought 4K. The previous version of this wasn't 4K. I went straight to the big brother, which shot 4K. This now I would certainly shoot over the big brother, to be honest with you, because I mean 4K internal on it. As you can see, it's a really neat unit. But for me, it was just the way, it actually brought back joy of filmmaking. We didn't have to worry about the technology for once. Normally, we sit there stressing about, is this stuff going to work? It worked out of the box, and we had fun. We put it on gimbals and handheld and ran around, low light, high light, all sorts of stuff. So,
Paul, this must be music to your ears.
Yeah.
Hearing from real world directors,
We obviously gave us some real challenges, but that's what that's what this camera's all about. It's about real world shooting and being able to, in a small production, or a low budget production, being able to get the very best results, very best image quality, reliability, and now this camera obviously gives us many more options in terms of file formats, resolutions, frame rates, and post-production pathways. The big thing that we're impressed upon people this movie we're showing tonight is the 15 stops of dynamic range straight off the sensor. And I don't think many of our competitors are taking this footage into a real-world cinema, projecting it in true 4K, basically mixed off Brett's computer. With very little post-production. We're putting it on the line, and we're showing people what you can do with it's one-man band, two-man band, low production budgets. This camera will give you the ultimate quality in 4K. Which is obviously the new buzz now.
Sure. I mean, I film a lot of stuff on a smartphone. I'm doing it right now, and I always notice I have issues with low light. And in fact, we're having that issue right now. We've had to put a nice light here to give some light to the situation. Looking at some of the photographs or some of the specs about this, I mean, it's got tremendous low light quality. And every time I see someone filming through a Canon camera at some event when I'm using my phone,
Yeah.
you know, they can it's just stunning the difference between a real camera and a smartphone in 2015.
I mean, the low light ability of that is quite phenomenal. And also as well, seeing into the shadows, which none of these things can do.
Yeah.
But yeah, and as Paul said, I mean, we were shooting where we had hardly any light inside, straight out, sunlight outside, and it was holding all the detail right across the whole range. So that's, you know, that's one of the amazing things that you can do. But I mean, I think for us, the biggest thing tonight is being able to screen this in 4K in the cinema.
Yeah. And was it just after you'd edited it, you just exported it to a
look, it has to go through a couple of other processes. It has to come out with DCP release. But you know, even 2 years ago, just to get that file created would have cost you $4,000 or $5,000. And here we are doing it on a laptop, which is quite phenomenal. I mean, I think, you know, to see this stuff projected back in 4K is quite mind-blowing.
Yeah. And you weren't using 4K before?
I've used 4K for a reasonable amount of time, but even 2 years ago, just to handle this much files was huge. So now it's just, you know, it's coming. You can actually now start to do it on laptops.
So tonight's event is all about showcasing what you were able to capture and create, and share it with your customers and the public. I mean, how was the event tonight advertised?
Yeah, so we've obviously put it out through our reseller base. We have a limited reseller base for this level of camera, and obviously our good friends with the ACS, Australian Cinematography Society, friends of Canon through Facebook and Canon Professional Service, and obviously our word of mouth is very strong.
Sure.
And Brett's actually showed a little bit of the footage on Vimeo up till now, and it's
a bit of a taste teaser.
It's getting some really good reviews basically online already. So you know we're expecting a big crowd tonight. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, and there's a link which will be after this video to we'll have part of your video embedded in the story.
Excellent.
And is it just scenes? Is there a bit of a story behind it?
There's a little bit of a storyline. I mean, it's a subtle storyline because you don't want it to take over from what the camera's about.
Sure.
But it is there. I mean, the thing is, at the end of the day, we don't want the directing to overrule the camera. So it's that fine line between the two that we tried to strike.
Sure.
And it did quite well.
You've got the C100, Paul. You've got the C300 Mark I. Is this now the top of the line, or does Canon have even bigger cameras for even higher work?
Effectively, the C500, which was the 4K RAW capable camera, which came out about 3 years ago. Its significance is it does a slightly higher frame rate, but it's only a RAW output to an external recording
and
device.
so this is like basically the newest flagship for Canon.
This is the new beast on the street, the number one cinema camera for Canon.
And with post-production, it's minimised because the camera's doing so much, or what's the...
So with the launch of the camera, we announced and launched the new Canon internal codec, which gives a platform to record internally 4K, 2K, HD at very high bit rates, without losing any of that sort of image quality in that compression standard. So what we're giving the customers is a very usable format in terms of internal recording, but without reducing the image quality, and that's the significance of this model.
So I mean, how much of a take up do you think? How quickly do you think cinematographers will be taking this unit up?
So far, response has been good. We've only started delivering the cameras in the last week or so. We currently can't meet demand with the product, but it's a $24,000 Australian product.
Yeah.
So it's one of those products that a lot of our customers will want to touch, will want to look at, will want to feel, make sure the image quality and the performance of the camera meets their standards.
So it's a gold Apple Watch or one of these.
Exactly right. Yes, exactly right.
I know which one will make you money.
Yeah, that's right. So Brett, are you already working on more projects with this camera?
Yeah, we've got a couple coming up. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'll probably turn it into my main weapon of choice, I'd say, for shooting. To be honest with you, because just the way it works. Yeah, it's fantastic. Also, as well, I mean, I think tonight's probably the first time the footage of this has been screened in 4K. I would say. Projected in 4K.
Yeah.
So it's quite exciting.
Yeah, right. But other than small monitors that we're using for some other shows and stuff we've done, this is the first time a real test is obviously on the 40-metre screen we're going to see it on.
Absolutely, yeah. So any final comments from either of you about the camera or the filming process or anything else you'd like to share?
I mean, look, at the end of the day, I think have a look at the images speak for themselves. I mean, really, that's what it's about. Anybody into imagery, I think will be blown away with how this thing works.
my last comment would be there's a lot of cameras out there. The market there's a lot of noise in the market. There's a lot of good cameras with a lot of good specifications. We're cutting through a lot of that, showing the image quality and showing the professional performance of its camera, and that's where we're
letting the results speak for themselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Paul and Brett, thank you very much, and good luck with the movie launch
Great.
tonight.
Lovely, thanks
you.
very much. Cheers.